This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 210. Tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hi.
And Tam.
Hello.
Real.
Oh.
Wow.
One of these days I'm going to actually get in the habit of saying the full name, but you know what?
I mean, that's likely. If you haven't done it in 4 years, or 4 years? Yes, 4 years. 4 years.
Yeah.
If you haven't done it in 4 years, you're not about to start now. Also, wow, we've been doing this a while.
Yes, we have.
I mean,
we are longer than a lot of podcasts that have ever run. So
more than 4 years, I imagine.
Yeah, we're going into year 5 now. So yeah, we were officially at 4 years back in April. Tomorrow's July, and as a result, we are recording the June Game of the Month podcast. So Ash, what did you have us play?
Game of the Month for June was Evoland 2, a sequel to a game that grew out of a game jam, Evoland 1. Very short, mostly poking fun at how video games evolved through the NES through PlayStation era. Evoland 2 is a dramatic expansion of that concept and throws in a bunch of other things just because.
So I'm going to confess that like so many AggroChat Game of the Month games, I did not get super far because I am a giant distracted toddler. What I did play of it was really cool. How far did everyone else make it?
I did beat it.
I have beaten the game.
I am almost done, I think.
Okay. You were all better than me.
So how far did you get?
I played for about 2 hours. So I'm not really sure how far that was, but...
Is that enough to at least get into the past?
Yeah, I got into the past. But
probably not long enough to get into the future.
No, I did not make it to the future. It was cool. I enjoyed what I played, but I am easily distracted and have been going through a renaissance with Elder Scrolls Online, and that's a thing that happened. And in the back of my head, I knew I should be playing Evoland 2, but I am really hard at making myself do homework as an adult. So I guess, Tam, what were your thoughts? And obviously Ash, since he's played it too, but...
What a weird game.
I feel like we should start with what Evoland 1 was and how it worked and how it didn't work.
That's
That
probably
is
fair.
Because
Evoland 1 starts you with the ability to walk right, and then you find treasure chests that have additional game mechanics. So your first treasure chest is the ability to walk left, and then opening the treasure chest to your left gets you the ability to move around in 2D, and the screen expands somewhat so you can actually move up and down. Getting the other treasure chest on that screen gives you the ability to scroll the screen in a sort of Zelda 1 style, one screen at a time. And you sort of gradually unlock things as you go along, sort of playing mostly Zelda-like. Eventually you earn hearts, so you don't die in one hit. Eventually you unlock turn-based battles, where it pretends to be Final Fantasy for a little while. There's a Diablo section for a little while. The coolest part of the game, however, is fairly late. You have the section where you're in Zelda-like controls. You have to swap between the present, where you're playing in a sort of 3D PS1-ish graphics setting, and the past, which looks like the start of the game, because some puzzles need you to alter things in the past to solve them in the future. And it feels like this one moment in Evoland 1 was the entire premise of Evoland 2.
And admittedly, it's a rather cool section in Evoland 1.
I mean, it was cool enough that they repeated it in Evoland 2, and I still feel like it's one of the better parts.
Yeah, and the game is the Evoland 1 was very much leaning on we're telling jokes through the game mechanics of you're unlocking the actual game as you play in ways that you normally wouldn't, like you're unlocking actual control inputs. And it was very jokesy. And Evoland 2 is as well. But Evoland 1 didn't have a story, and Evoland 2 does.
I also feel like Evoland 2 mostly drops the jokesy thing a certain ways in. Like, very early on, you unlock a treasure chest and you get gravity.
It's still got a lot of comedy in it. Like, it's still very jokesy. It's just not jokesy in the main text.
Yeah.
Like, the story of the heroes is pretty serious, but, like, along the way they'll meet like heroes from all of these other games, and all of the item descriptions are quite funny.
But the game exists for more than just the purpose of its jokes.
Yes, exactly.
It's still doing the same kind of thing that Evoland 1 does, where it's... I guess Evoland 1 is kind of this exploration of the evolution of games that it kind of jokes about. Evoland 2 is that, but games. There is a section of the game that matches like every classic game from like 1995 to 2005, possibly more than just that.
I will say I haven't beat it yet. I keep waiting for us to go into a first-person shooter, because I feel like that's the one that we're missing thus far.
That one never happens. Possibly because they didn't want to have to make assets for a first-person shooter.
That's fair. But yeah, there's Mega Man and Street Fighter and Double Dragon and Bejeweled. Like, all of these are game types that you will encounter.
I'm trying to remember what the first sort of fake out is. And I guess it is when you get Gravity. It's the first time you find yourself in a sort of side-scrolling Mega Man-like departure from the Zelda-style gameplay you were previously engaged in.
Yeah.
More Zelda 2 than Mega Man? Because there is like...
That's fair, but you have a ranged attack.
You do have a ranged... You also... Well, you kind of did in Zelda 2. It's a weird game mode.
I mean, yes, later you have endless runners, and that explicitly ends with a Mega Man-style boss.
Yes.
But yeah, there is a very wide variety of game types represented, and most of them are, and honestly, I found this shocking the first time I played this game, done pretty well.
Yeah. So, honestly, I have two major issues with the game, one of which we'll get to later.
I wonder if it's the same as my major issues.
Might be. The only
Because one of them is the Double Dragon section in its entirety.
That's sort of what I'm getting at. I actually feel like almost every... I'm saying almost every because I can't actually think of one that isn't done well. Almost every like weird sub game type is this faithful recreation of what it's trying to imitate. And they're pretty well done. They just all go on a little bit too long. Like, they're... With a couple of exceptions, but almost every single one of them, except for the Street Fighter one. I think the Street Fighter one was about the right amount of time. But there's like the Streets of Rage / Double Dragon, which is like about 20% too long. There's the like Puzzle Match 3 Puzzle Quest one that's like, it's like one match longer than I wanted it to be.
I feel like this game does have issues with pacing in general. Yes.
Yeah.
And the bullet hell shooter,
that one is like twice as long as it should be, roughly.
Yeah.
And I like bullet hell shooters.
That was a little rough for me.
And it's just it's sort of like a recurring thing. Like they really execute on these so well, and you do them once. It's like they execute them on them super well, and they know you're only going to do them once, so they draw them out a little bit longer than they needed to be. I actually, but they're so well done that I actually don't mind the amount of time I'm spent playing them. It's just that it's all at once. I almost wish I could come back. I almost wish that there were like a come back and do this, like, rather than doing the one game type just constantly throughout the whole thing and then being done with it forever. Like, if they were about half as long and then you come back to them and have them in a slightly different flavor later.
There's a few that I did feel like were about the right length. Specifically, the tactics section I really liked, and since they throw in like a new enemy type almost every time or something new on each map, I found that one kept my interest through all of the battles.
Yeah, I felt like that one did drag on me, but I also completed every mission in it, and so
yeah, I really like that one too.
But I did like that one a lot. I thought that one was really cool. I thought that I actually did also really like the bullet hell shooter one. It was just too long. I think Street Fighter was just about the right amount of time, as mentioned.
I really liked the Professor Layton section.
Yes, Professor Layton was funny. I felt like you were mentioning that you felt like the bullet hell shooter section was too long. I felt like the Final Fantasy random encounters section was about twice as long as it needed to be.
The Chrono Trigger one?
Chrono Trigger one? Yeah.
Yeah.
That and one I found out my second time through that one can be a lot shorter. if you know where to not stand.
How long did you guys spend trying to follow that stupid thing's orders?
Which thing's orders?
The monkey that tells you which buttons to press.
Not very long.
Where he's like telling you, press this one, then deactivate this one, now activate this one. The Simon Says section.
Yeah, I didn't spend that long on that one.
Okay, so I basically ignored him after like spending 15 minutes not getting it to completion.
I may have realized it was talking to me. I may have realized it was giving me directions right as I hit the switch to finish it.
Ah.
But I also had developed a healthy lack of trust for the explicit directions of anything that anything had given me in that game.
This is fair.
I think that I actually really liked the sort of time travel conceit in this game, so you know what time frame you're in at all times just from the graphics of the game. I actually thought that was super, super well done and like consistently well done.
I am amused greatly by the art styles they chose, because the style you start the game in could pass for sort of a Super Nintendo game. It's sort of become the indie standard. It's maybe a few too many colors, but, still the proper style. The style they chose for the past does not look like an NES game. And we've had a lot of examples of things that look exactly like NES games lately to go from.
But it looks like your memory of an NES game.
That's how I feel.
Well, and it also kind of looks like early PC games too.
That's fair. And also,
that
the future section definitely looks like your memory of PS1 games. Because I know a lot of people have taken a look at the actual asset for Cloud in FF7 and been shocked by it lately.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that. When it goes to 3D, it looks like your memory of PS1 games. It's not what PS1 games look like. I think it is interesting how much the game, if you are playing it a second time, the game lets you blaze through a lot.
Oh,
like
if you remember where things are, you can go very quickly.
Yes, like you can get the best sword in the game very fast. I almost did this, and I found out I could have done it if I had found one more collectible. Because you need, what is it, 3 or 4?
I want to say you need 4 Orcon ore.
Yeah, you need 4 ore, and I had 3 when I found the guy. And I thought, oh, well, I'll just come back when I found the last one. And that's way later.
Yeah, it's a long time before you can come back.
By which time I was able to buy most of the armor set, as well as the sword. However, you can find 4 before you, basically before you go into the I'm going to fight a bunch of things section. And that makes everything, makes the whole game much faster. It's pretty nuts.
I wonder if they specifically put that in there to coax speedrunners to try and speedrun it.
Possibly.
It hasn't been terribly popular for speedruns. I looked into it not too long ago, but I don't remember how long it took.
It's also got a charming story.
It's got a weird story.
Weird and kind of cliche, but charming in the hey, I remember games that were telling stories like this in the Super Nintendo era.
It's also funny because it's got a lot of big dialogue moments where people are chewing over weird, heady topics of time travel. They want to talk about time travel a lot.
I mostly just ignore those.
One of the things that I thought was interesting from just a standpoint of it is a lot of cliched things from past games. The fact that there's a bunch of different game modes is also kind of a cliched thing from past games.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a bunch of Nintendo and Game Boy era games that were confused as to what kind of game they were. Like Blaster Master, for example. There was the really cool side-scrolling stuff, and then the super frustrating isometric top-down dungeon crawling areas. Then Batman on the Game Boy was a racing game and a shoot 'em up and a side-scroller.
A million platformers that decide they want to be side-scrolling shooters at some point during the game.
Yeah.
Every single Kirby game ever. And a lot of Mario games.
Sonic the Hedgehog?
Sonic, if you unlock the final boss frequently.
I mean, even the Emerald Zone in Sonic was a vast departure from the rest of the game.
Definitely weird.
Yes. One place the story really doesn't hold up, though, is it trips at the finish line real bad.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, how do you think this game should end?
I mean...
First, who's the final boss?
Okay, who the final boss is you.
Not quite.
Not quite. Is it past you?
Well, that would have been my first guess. It's really your second guess.
What?
It's your second guess, so not you.
I guess
Good first guess, though.
Was a good first guess.
Since basically every villain in this game is you.
Yes, I've noticed. Ceres?
Yep.
Okay.
So, okay, fine. You beat the final boss because she takes the key of time and does something irresponsible with it.
Oh,
big surprise.
Sure. That seems like something you would do.
Accurate.
Also accurate. And then you wake up at Fina's house at the start of the game? There's no real good explanation for this.
I mean, I guess the explanation is that you're using the key of time to undo basically everything you did, creating a stable time loop.
I guess that's the theory, but it's not executed well.
Okay.
And also not explained.
I would say if I was expecting something, I would expect you to be the final boss and use the key of time to erase yourself, because you are a bad person. Do they ever
So the butterfly effect ending.
Do they ever confirm like the fact that you are obviously Professor Jiro?
Have you made it to the distant past yet?
I am in the distant past right now.
That's basically where you find out. If you were unsure for some reason prior to that point.
That you are definitely Professor Jiro.
You are definitely G. Also, this
The what?
very, very, very start of the game tells you this.
How?
The Game Boy intro sequence also tells you that you are G.
Okay.
You aren't going to catch that until your second time through the game.
So the game is like you have this character, Professor Jiro, and then you get to a hologram of him, and it is like
It's with a mask on.
It's you with a mask on, but it's like exactly your same tuft of hair with a mask on. It's like, oh no, I'm in a time travel game, and I'm only getting half of this story.
You never get the other half.
And I think that's where it falls flat, is you only sort of get the other half, and it's not complete or satisfying.
I get what they are trying to do, and I'm going to experience it and probably not like it. Time travel's confusing.
Look, let's be completely clear. Time travel sucks, and I like this game even though time travel frequently sucks.
Time travel, and it's so hard to do. Time travel is one of those story types, I feel, where it's like it's so easy to set up and start doing interesting things with, but then it's so hard to wrap it up in a way that makes any sense at all. It's doable, but it's really hard. And so many time travel stories just fall flat on their face because of that last bit. Like, we've done this crazy thing, but then also, whoops. Like, we've set up this crazy thing, but then there's no actual way to resolve it.
I do feel that's where they got you here.
Yeah.
I do feel like there's something interesting where, with some time travel narratives, where, like, the protagonist is not in control of when the time travel is happening. I've seen a couple of stories that do this. That's at least a little bit more interesting, where the fact that time travel is happening is a problem rather than their solution.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some of that, but like the whole ripple effect thing is hard to manage.
Yeah.
I mean, this game manages it by basically ignoring causality.
Yes.
Which is fine. That's one approach.
Yeah. But it ignores causality to the point where its ending is just nonsense and doesn't really work or make sense. And I feel like that's sort of the cost, is it's like you either are really, really on top of causality, and your story kind of grinds to a halt because nobody wants to do anything, or every tiny action has these crazy spiraling consequences.
It's possible to not fit into either of those categories, because Chrono Trigger, after like the first 2 hours, also pretty much ignores causality.
It's true. And
manages to have a number of different endings based on the fact. Well, it also says at the end of the game, time travel can't happen anymore.
Yes.
So that's an important part of most endings in Chrono Trigger.
Yes, and I think that's important. I think that's an important thing for your time travel story to do, is make sure that nobody can time travel anymore.
You've got to break the machine.
Yep.
Yep.
There was a interesting There was a moment where I was like kind of into it. The Sylphs were the race that is outside of the time stream, existing at all eternities at once.
Which is how they managed to wedge the whole time travel dungeon in again.
Sure. And I was like, okay, I am fine with this. But it is hard to write a character that is actually existing outside of time. And immediately after having this all explained to me, they're like, recently, we have been seeing the tree get sicker and sicker. I'm like, no, that doesn't... What?
There is no recently.
There is no recently.
Or progression.
Yeah. Like,
Whoops.
they fell into bog standard quest text writing and was like, oh no, this doesn't work.
The tree is both sick and well.
I did find that time travel dungeon super annoying.
Yes. There were a couple of things. That one had a lot of like instant death reload things going on.
Yes.
And it wasn't always like, yeah, that wasn't fun. One of the like breadcrumbs that you get is you have to, for another dungeon, is you have to talk to this NPC who is Sid, and I'm the person who makes airships. Anyways, because obviously this game needs to have a Sid in it. But every time you approach him, he like yells at you and like tells you to stop bothering him. And so like the only way to actually like progress his narrative is after he yells at you to stop bothering him is to go up and bother him. And like that was just one of those things where I was like, after somebody does that, I'm going to back off and go away. And if you back off even a little and try and go back in, he comes back and yells at you. So it was really hard for me to get the proper flag set such that I could get the story forward.
Yeah, this game definitely has the like ye old RPG mentality of don't ever stop bothering people ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so like if you play it with the mindset that like none of the NPCs you talk to know what's best for them ever, and that whatever you might do is the better idea always, it works pretty well. But it also puts you in a weird state where you're just constantly looking down on every NPC. But it does like, it did make me think about just like how common that is in games. Like if you listen to an NPC who says to leave them alone, almost certainly you're missing something.
Or at the very least, there's a condition that makes them stop telling you to leave them alone.
Yeah. The other, one other aside on this one. So I restarted this game partway through so that I would play it on PC because I thought,
yes.
The first thing I thought was, oh, hey, I can play this game on mobile. This would be a really cool, and like, this would be a really cool game to play like when I'm in between things or whatever. No.
Similar to my experience with Full Throttle. Just don't.
Just don't. Yeah, just don't. Just don't. It's probably the worst mobile port I've ever seen. It combines like every bad... I don't actually know if the game is beatable on mobile, but also they cut a lot of content on mobile.
Really?
Yes. I played as far as getting to the town where you're trying to find a way to escape it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about half the amount of content to get there on mobile as it is on PC.
What do they cut? Just like the puzzle rooms in the mountain or something?
They cut all but one of the puzzle rooms in the mountain, half of the monsters in the mountain, most of the space in the mountain. Your hometown is about half as big, like just cut in half. They even moved the fishing guy to he's just sitting on a stump with a fishing pole as opposed to actually in the water fishing. Like it was shocking to me how much less. It was like everything that wasn't necessary for the story got reduced or removed.
I knew that they got it ported by a different company. From what I've heard, mobile port was good if you use a controller only. I wasn't aware there was other cut content.
I think that might be possible. Like I can definitely see where all of the porting work went, and it wasn't into functional controls. So yeah, it honestly is, like I was saying, it honestly is the worst port of anything I've played. It combines all of the bad parts about mobile analog stick copy equivalents into one just amalgamate monstrosity. I actually very seriously thought I was going to check out of this game because it was nigh unplayable, and I tried it on PC and was like, oh, this is actually not bad and pretty fun, as opposed to a short route to madness.
Broken mess.
Oh, yeah.
No, I did see what the mobile controls looked like, and if that had been the game, then no, this would not have been a game of the month.
That's fair.
It was definitely a game I liked a lot when it came out, and replayed, and still actually like quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean...
Pacing is a thing. The ending sucks.
Yeah.
But I do like the game.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. Like, the pacing sucks. The pacing is iffy. The ending sucks. But, like, it was still super charming. It made me actually laugh out loud on more than one occasion. It's like, it's got that like exuberant 90s cliche kind of dialogue going on kind of throughout, but it also breaks the fourth wall enough, usually around those bits, that it doesn't feel saccharine. Like, it doesn't always manage this, but
it feels like it would work really well on the Switch.
Maybe
a lot of the other indies there.
This is fair. It took me about, I don't know, 12 hours to beat.
It took me quite a bit more than that the first time.
I was going to say, it seems like a longer game than I was expecting it to be.
It was longer than I was expecting.
The pacing was a little off. But I guess I also want to say, I really like the card game in this game.
I also really like the card game.
I did not touch the card game at all, which is probably why I got through it so much faster. I didn't even get the "you played your first game of cards" achievement.
I ended up with 84% completion, and most of that was cards.
I have 31 of 38 achievements.
Same, actually.
I don't have any of the card ones, which is 3 of them. I didn't get level 30.
I didn't hit level 30. I didn't find 30 stars.
I didn't do that
Tomb Raider, double tap, or bring us the girl and wipe away the debt.
I didn't get double tap or friend of beasts. I did not do the Cluckety. I didn't actually find the Cluckety Isle.
I don't remember where it is, but I did find it and survive it.
And I somehow didn't kill 40 zombies in the Ghost Forest.
Me neither, somehow.
But I did get bring us the girl and wipe away the debt, which was weird. And what was the other one?
Tomb Raider, for finding the hidden tomb.
Oh, I definitely did find the hidden tomb. I went hunting for ores. I never
the two
used
hardest people in the card game are a random sweeper in just this village in the future, and Fina's dad.
That's fitting. Isn't the random sweeper in the village in the future like
a Discworld reference?
Oh, I thought he was like you from the future.
Didn't seem like one.
There was one character who I was pretty sure was just you sweeping.
Oh, is that the one in the Windy Valley in the future?
Yeah. Who's like, this doesn't matter. You know it doesn't matter, but you know this doesn't matter, but you don't know it yet. But you will, don't worry.
Seemed more like a Discworld thing.
And that character is quite hard at cards.
Yes.
I feel like I should boot it up and try the card game though.
It's surprisingly fun. I like it a lot.
I mean, this game was very good at alternate games being very fun inside of it. So
there are, however, a lot of people to challenge at this card game.
I believe that. I mean, you have won 50 card games is one of the achievements.
Yes, but I feel like there are less than 50 people you need to challenge to get cards. So I suspect that involves beating some people over and over. Possibly some really easy people once you get a broken card, like your own card, which is in the Sylph Forest for some reason.
I did definitely get that card. I definitely have some good cards. I just didn't. You defeated evil, maybe. I did. One of the only story things I thought was sort of silly was the like prophecy guy. I felt like that was a little bit of a stretch.
I feel like he's fine in the future, and then when they tried to figure out how to make that work, it was a large stretch.
Yeah,
because you find him in the future when you hear all the prophecy stuff well before you actually do any of it.
But then you do all of that thing, and
yeah, it's a little silly.
Yeah, it's a little silly.
Which thing?
You found the 5 keys.
Oh yeah,
and so on and so forth.
Yes, the Great Disaster and the Great Prophet.
You are the Great Destroyer because you flooded a basement and you found 5 keys, which, by the way, were just 5 random keys lying around the world. They aren't actually important.
I mean, you're also the Great Destroyer because you destroyed the entire continent.
Sure, but the Prophet doesn't actually know that. He just knows you flooded a basement.
Wow, oh man, there's so little closure on this game.
Yeah.
As you're saying this, I'm like thinking, man, so you don't get to find out what happens with Kumo or with Minos either.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh.
Well, actually, once you do the tactics part, you can go to the Island of Demons in the future,
Uh-huh.
and they built a shrine to Minos.
Okay.
I mean, the shrine to Minos is how you get Super Minos.
Yes, that's how you get his summon.
Which is a little weird.
Super
but
Minos?
there's level 3s upgrades for everybody.
Oh man. I'm not even on level 2s yet.
You have to get Minos.
Oh, right.
His is required to get further in the game.
Right. How do you get those level 3s? They
You have
keep
to
asking.
find them in the world.
I've run into the one in Wind Valley for Fina. It keeps asking me to bring something.
What they asked for?
Yes.
It's mana.
Oh, okay.
The same thing you use to get to level 2.
How
Except
much
you need 3.
mana? You need 3?
You need 3.
Okay. I'm not good at finding things in this game.
There are 12 total in the game.
Huh.
Just enough to get everybody to level 3. I was short 2 when I finished.
Yeah, I'm not exactly going out on my way to hunt for items, though.
I thought I did, but I ended up with 18 out of 30 stars. So 60% is not really a great look.
Did you piece together the bit what happens in the lab where like you from the future shows up and kills you and Fina?
What?
There's a bunch of records in the lab, like the hollow records.
Oh, I must have missed this.
Yeah, there's a bunch of notes talking about what the caretaker of the lab was doing, and it's like, hey, I showed up and these 2 people were there, a man and a woman. I killed both of them.
Oh.
Because they'd been there for a while. She seemed really agitated about something and he wasn't in good shape. I killed both of them. There's a scene in the game where you're in pretty bad shape.
This game is playing with you, not necessarily... Like, you are catching things, but it's going pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pacing. It's a little slow when it doesn't need to be, and it's really fast when it probably shouldn't be.
I mean, which is a lot like time generally is.
It's fitting.
I guess there's that.
Yeah, it's fitting for a time travel game, but its pacing is weird.
When you're bored, time lasts forever, but like when you're really enjoying yourself, it goes super fast and you miss details. I mean, that's probably giving him more credit, but
It did make me a little sad that there seemed to be no way of avoiding the poor demons getting just like blasted.
Yeah. They're kind of doomed by the game's plot.
Yeah.
And even though you go to the past and make the war turn out slightly differently, they're still doomed, mostly. They sort of survive as a race, but they don't, you can't save Kuro's son.
Yeah.
Or
Minos'
son. Names are hard. The default name for the main character is Kuro, and the company that makes this is called Shiro Games, because haha puns are funny.
Haha buns.
Making this more confusing is when I named my character Shiro the second time through, and that actually got a little weird.
That seems like it would get weird. I hit the wrong button at the wrong time, so my character was just called T. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing anything with this. Yep, that's what we're doing now.
I mean, it's not like they ask you, wait.
Well, wait
Did
a
they ask you
second.
for your name when the game starts? Or does it take a while?
It takes a while.
What was your character's other name? What was your character's other name?
Oh, God.
So, they have a moment in this game where they ask you to give a name to the evil empire, and Fina's like, "Oh man, we cannot give them your real name. You need to pick something for them to give you." And they give you like 4 choices. I picked
the correct
Super
choice
Mario.
is Dex Terminator.
Super Mario, because I was like, "Haha, that's funny." Like, yeah, I'm Super Mario. And you introduce yourself as Super Mario to Minos. And for the rest of the game, you are Super Mario to Minos. They carry that choice till the game is done.
Yes.
That's commitment to a bit I've never seen.
Even when he's being like serious and sad about things that have happened to you, he uses your stupid arena name.
Yes. Which is very frequent. Minos is the tragic character. He's often like quite sad or angry or very emotional and like, or trying to like be very stern and serious and always referring to you as your stupid arena name.
The other choices are Mega Clink, Solid Snail, Wonder Man, and Dex Terminator, which is the one I picked my first time through.
Same.
I mean, we all know each other by our handles, even though we actually know everyone's names, and we don't ever use them.
I'm just glad none of us have incredibly stupid handles.
Except for Lyle, who has an unpronounceable one.
I love at the end of the tactics section, don't forget the greatest hero of all, Super Mario. Without his tactical brilliance, the armies would have failed.
Oh yeah, it's especially bad when Minos introduces you to other people.
Yes.
Because then other people use that. They don't question him ever because he's so serious all the time.
So since I haven't gotten to it, what type of fight is the final boss?
R-type.
It's one type of fight.
I mean, also that.
There is a scrolling R-type / Gradius-like section. And then the final boss is, I want to say, conducted mostly in the sort of 2D platforming thing. At least I know it ends that way.
There's a 3D section and an R-type section and a platformy section. And I don't really remember which order they were in, although I thought that it was I thought that it ended with the R-type section.
It does end with the R-type section. It's the 3D section, then the platforming section, then the R-type section.
So I played this game on not the easiest mode. It's actually quite difficult.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
The new default is the easiest mode, but it was not when I played the game originally. And yes, some parts of this game are quite difficult. Particularly, I had issues in the Mega Man section, the Streets of Rage section, which I really don't feel like controls that well, and the, what was the other one? Tactics was fine. Bomberman section. Particularly the boss of that section.
Since things have inexplicably died down, any final thoughts about the game?
I really enjoyed it. It was super charming. I know we talked a bunch about the bits we didn't like, but there's a lot to like. It's fun, it's interesting, it's got some cute things, it's got some good laughs.
The characters are really fun. Like,
yeah.
I really appreciate how much of the main character's dickishness kind of comes off, despite this guy basically not having any lines.
He has the traditional named voiceless protagonist problem of people put words in his mouth, and possibly he doesn't actually give a damn about anything at all.
But I very much believe that this guy is actually the villain.
Oh yeah. No, I'm 100% there. It's a game in which you are the villain, but also it's complicated.
It's very complicated.
So while I did not play a ton of this game, the one thing that I appreciate the most is it is so often when a game is a parody of something else that it's kind of a one-trick pony. It is only capable of poking fun at that thing, but doesn't have much soul of its own to stand on. And this seems like it is very much an actual game.
Yes, this is absolutely where Evoland 2 succeeds over Evoland 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's also really cool. Sort of on that topic, it's able to make jokes. It's able to make jokes about things that I don't think the obvious thing it's making jokes about. Its humor is in places that aren't just fourth wall breaking, haha, games are silly. But it also manages to be serious. It actually is telling a relatively serious story and gets weirdly dark in some places. But yeah, I was a big fan.
So, what's up for July?
In July, we're going to play a floating simulator brought to you by the people who made Gone Home. Tacoma.
It's because it can't be a walking simulator because we're not walking.
Yeah,
you were sometimes walking.
We're going to find out what happened in a space station.
We're also going to talk a lot about labor politics in the future.
And AR.
And if you want to play along, if you manage to catch it before the Steam sale ends, I think it's $9.
Everyone can enjoy a lovely obsolescence day.
Have you already played this game?
I've played a little bit of it.
I mean, I have a lot of expectations about this game because Gone Home was pretty amazing. So I'm hoping that like that same level of goodness is brought to a vastly different topic.
Apparently, being a sequel to something does not guarantee that you're going to be better than that something.
It's very good, though.
That's a topic for next week.
Sure.
Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next week for a normal show. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.